All right. Yeah, right. Great challenge this week again. Another really good football team. When you watch the tape, you see a team that's athletic, well coached, play fast, they play hard, and they've given us a great challenge the last several times we've played them. So, I've several guys in that team, on that defense, we've played for a lot of years, and I think very highly of them. And so we got to be ready to go. Got to have a great week of prep starting today. Take any questions you have.
Kirk, it seemed like a couple of throws Sunday, the pocket presence that you've shown, being able to move in the pocket, evade defenders, shows up. I'm thinking of kind of the one that KJ towards the end of the game. Has that been something you've emphasized at all more this year to try to be able to extend plays without always having to bail out of the pocket?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think you try to not chase those. You try to just let them happen naturally. Sometimes good pocket movement can be, instead of hitching directly forward, you hitch left or hitch right subtly just to make a little more room in the pocket between you and the block before you make the throw. So sometimes the pocket movements can be very, very subtle. Other times, truly escaping can be the right decision, playing off schedule. On that particular one, I thought KJ did a great job of just kind of continuing with the play and breaking open. And the challenge with extending the play like that in those pockets can be, the ball security, the potential for a sack fumble. It can also go south, too, when you do that. So you understand the risk-reward sometimes doesn't favor holding on to it and moving around. But there's certainly going to be those moments where a pocket breaks down, the read wasn't clear, and you have to buy a little time and hopefully find a way to still, have a productive play.
Kirk, after a big win at Buffalo, you guys have become maybe kind of more media darlings, a lot more hype, Super Bowl talk. How do you kind of handle that change, more of a spotlight on the Vikings now?
I live such an insulated life that I have no idea that that's going on. I understand that's your world. That's what you do. That's what you know. To me, this feels the same right here as it does every week. The team meeting felt the same. Lunch felt the same. Walkthrough feels the same. So, I go to my house, I play with my kids, I come back here, I grind, and it's really boring back and forth. And no matter what's going on the outside, you just kind of keep putting in the work. And after these many years of playing, I guess this is year 8 starting week after week, you have your routine, you have your process, and you just don't deviate. When you lose, you don't deviate. When you win, you don't deviate. You just sort of methodically go about your process week in and week out, and that's what I'll keep doing.
Your neighbors aren't shoveling your walk faster now?
Well, my neighbor actually does shovel my walk. Right. So I have one of the best neighbors in the world on our street, and he has a little Polaris and a plow, and he's usually up there helping me. And then I was getting body work in my house on Monday night, and I look over and he's shoveling my back patio. So when they talk about Minnesota nice, I live that on a daily basis with my neighbors.
Did he do the patio when you were a 500 team? Or?
He actually did. He's a bit of a MacGyver. He's a handyman. He can kind of get a lot done. So he's the kind of guy who's, ride or die with the Vikings. He's got the purple lights on the house on game day. But, I'm sure he might plow and shovel with a little more enthusiasm after like a big win on Sunday. We tip. We definitely tip. And when you're a Vikings fan, payment in tickets to games works too. That works too.
Kirk, it's kind of a little bit off the wall question, but wristbands. Like, if I remember correctly, you wore with the play sheet on your wristband in 2018.
I did.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Why? How has that? Did it help you? Did it bother you? Or
it was a bit of the. Some of it is the comfort level of the coach, what they're used to, what they have done in the past. Some of it is the length of the calls. I was debating wearing one for a specific week this week, a few weeks ago, because the calls were so long. I thought maybe it might make sense. I decided not to, and ended up just learning, some serious memorization skills instead. But I used to say to Sean McVay, these plays are long. I could use a wristband, and Sean would say, well, I don't look down at the call sheet to call the play to see what the wristband number is. I just call the game from my head. So he said, we can't do that because I would have to go find the play and then give you the number. So I learned with Sean, I'm going to have to just memorize these plays, and I don't have the luxury of a wristband. Flip, I think, was a little more used to that method or comfortable doing that, and so it helped me too, being in the first year here with so much going on that was new. But haven't done it in a while, and if ever Kevin does want to get a lot of verbiage in the game plan, there's always that option to use it.
The West Coast plays memorization.
Nick Mullins really helped me with a technique because I was really struggling, late in August, early September of really getting to a place where I could spit the plays out just with total ownership. And he said, well, what I do, because he's been in a couple systems where he's had to learn quickly, especially this year with so little time between the trade and week one. He said, is I'll just record the tricky plays on my phone, and instead of listening to music or the radio on the drive time to and from work, I'll just listen to the play calls. So I started doing that, and it makes my drives less, I should say my drives a little more boring, but I find myself, I get home to the garage, and I feel a little better about the game plan and my command of the game plan. So that's been a good trick that I picked up from Nick, and those are the kinds of little things that can happen in the quarterback room that can make a meaningful difference in your season and in your process.
Because you've kind of been in the West Coast scheme your whole career.
Yeah.
The plays in that, the verbiage tends to be quite a bit longer, don't they?
I think so. There's so many different ways to do it. I've think there's positives and negatives to every different way. There's times where I like having a fair amount of words because you can paint the picture better. But there's other times where it's just you're calling 2 to 3 plays, and it just can be a lot with a motion and a shift and an alert, and then you have the play clock, and so there's just a lot going on.
Kirk, what have you learned about this team and being able to close out close games and not be on that losing end like years past?
Yeah, it's something that I think we've, as a group here, have talked about for many weeks, is finding those inches. I wish I could give you this great, succinct answer as to why we found the inches so far this year more than the previous year. I don't have a great answer, but the fact remains we have, and that's really why we're standing here with the record we are, is the last couple minutes of the half, the game, the overtime, people making plays. And it's not any one person week in and week out. It's not any one unit week in and week out. But as a group, somebody makes a play and gives us a chance to win these games. And I've said also many times here talking that I'd prefer not to have to rely on that play, at the end of each game. But you understand in this league, they do tend to come down to the final drive. That's just the way these games are. And being battle tested, I think, is a good thing for us. I think it'll help us moving forward.
Just about the Cowboys, the fact they've come into U.S. Bank each of the last 2 years to beat you, and I got another shot at them.
Yeah, great football team. They've been in the playoffs several times the last several years, and have gotten the better of us. So we got our work cut out for us.
Kirk, speaking of play calls, if you could share what the play call was in the 4th and 18 to Justin and why it was chosen in that situation.
Yeah, the thought process there is, first of all, there aren't a lot of plays for 4th and 18. So you're in a bad spot. You're picking your best bad option, like in the movie Argo, where they say, is this the best option we have? And he said, sir, we only have bad options. This is our best bad option. That's really what 4th and 18 is. So Kevin was we had a stoppage, so he was able to kind of talk me through it and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. Tell Justin what to expect here. It's probably going to have to be a jump ball. And I was thinking of contingency plans of, hey, if they take away Justin like they very well could, to where I really can't throw him a jump ball, KJ, I need you to do this, or Adam, be ready to do this, or O-line, be ready to do this. So you're kind of talking through those scenarios, and then I did feel like as I dropped back, again, had a nice pocket to be able to see this, which sometimes you don't always have that luxury, just the fact that it probably was close to a one-on-one. And so you say that's good enough for us on 4th and 18 and put the ball up. I was disappointed that I didn't maybe leave it short. I kind of led him like I would normally lead him on a route, and really when a jump ball scenario, you kind of want to throw it short so he's stopping and going straight up as opposed to stopping and reaching back. So every time I see the clip, everybody else is happy, and I'm kind of like, it's 2 feet too far. It needs to be right in front of him. So I guess that's kind of how I always watch it.
What's this week's film study like?
How many words is a typical play that you spit out?
There really isn't a typical. You can be as simple as having a code word that tells everybody what to do in one word, which we certainly carry, every team does. And then you have plays that can get in situations where it's we have a play for this look, we have a play for this look, and we might alert to a third option, and you're really trying to communicate all that in the huddle, and it can get longer. So it just kind of depends on the week, the situation, and there's times to be very efficient, there's times to be a little longer and drawn out.
This week's film study like in some of the other catches that were also kind of below 50% according to the next gen?
Yeah, because you go back and you watch, critically all the time of, hey, what was the best decision there? Was it to check it down? Was it to throw it into coverage? We had the jump ball at the end of half against Washington, ends up getting intercepted, but we had a bunch of jump balls, against Washington and against Buffalo where, it goes your way. So you try to just learn from each one and understand ways to avoid the negative outcome and chase that positive outcome. But many times it does come down to just the matchup and the player and feeling good about your odds.
You've navigated, over the last couple of weeks, some of those, jump balls to Justin in a different way?
No, I don't think so. I think sometimes it's just what the situation calls for. And, there were still some in the game that I felt there was one in the low red zone that was a little too high for him, and I would have liked to bring down and give him more of a true chance at it. So, but you also are aware that if I brought the ball down, the DB has more of a chance for it too. So, again, you're always kind of looking at that with that critical eye, trying to critique yourself.
Thanks.